Okay, now my confusion deepens a little bit. So I looked at the response you gave, and I have a photocopy of it under your name. Yes, it's linked. I have the picture. How did you meet the fans that did the report at Riva Memorial? Did you think about that answer? Because you were one of the first on the scene that allegedly did a public, immediate social media upload of this young man's body. How'd you meet them there when you were outside taking pictures, and then shortly after that is when we got your video? Even if we want to presume you did it the next day, what time in between you putting him lifeless up on social media and then you bringing it to the forefront, gaining your followers and everything you did by the next day, how did you do that? Because investigators came later that day and you guys videotaped them and did everything before investigators arrived. How is that possible? Now you're directly conflicting with a lot of things you said or any type of knowledge that we gained from you being involved in the first place. Now the plot thickens a little bit, and it's starting to seem like you didn't cover your tracks properly as the witness. Now I'm telling you, I'm gonna tell you this now. Again, you are putting yourself in a position to play innocent while young men are under basically the suspicion of being further involved and possibly facing a death penalty. So you slid through to get a jet ski fix, right? And you had no contact or text message exchange that led to prior knowledge of knowing that something was going to happen, right? Yet you ran at a very specific time, but still managed to tell a story of what happened. Who are you? What are you, the Green Lantern? You move your sight outside? Who are you, the Flash? You ran inside, ran out, saw what happened, ran back in real fast? What type of story were you telling? All these contradictions and all this funny business. Were you even questioned by investigators? So you have all these random people that were questioned by investigators, but you only got the questioning that brought your shine to get your Twitter and Instagram followers up. What kind of sense does that make? Again, they're probably not going to come back and do it if there's any level of prejudice involved in this situation and they feel like they want to hang these past felons. But from the information I have, you seem more guilty than anybody in this situation. You do. You really do. You want to know why? Because your cowardice in this situation, watch your favorite superstar, his demise live for social media, yet you managed to keep your freedom, your life, weren't even questioned by investigators, was able to receive some funny style text messages that we'll get to, and still escape with just a burst of support backing you and other people asking your story. And I know there's no way you're lawyered up because of the answers you're giving to questions that are on social media. Everybody's still acting like social media isn't a part of this case in some way, shape, or form. Honestly, off of everything I'm starting to read, if those men walk free, they need to come pick you up next. Seriously. Seriously. What, you feel like because you got a privileged background that cuffs can't get put on you? That because you may know a few people that you shouldn't have to stand for being involved in something that literally, if you knew, for you not speaking up makes you an accessory off the fact? Do you know that? You probably don't know that. To be real with you, they don't really have evidence for these suspects, but there's an overwhelming amount of evidence on you. Seriously. They don't have to figure out who was talking and who was saying what to know you were receiving certain text messages having predisposed knowledge or something. So again, is this favoritism? While you're using daddy's money to go get your jet ski fix, you think that you can't be held liable for something? What type of situation puts you in the gold seat to watch a man's demise, yet avoid being held responsible, even though you might have held one of the most alleged, let's say, important factors of allowing this to occur? If what I'm reading is correct, you had the most important part in this, to be real with you. Because remember, I was asking certain things like how someone had the ability to keep someone in place. And I asked, why were you following someone around at a specific time? But the more I look at the evidence, it starts to make sense. Everything's starting to come together. And it's through your communication, or the alleged communication, being forwarded to you. And it was not threatening. This was a choice. This was a choice. This was a choice to go along with something or not, regardless of who you're saying was involved. And to be real, you can go in there, run in there, and throw names out. You're not credible. You're no longer credible. Everything's going to contradict the first story you told. Because from the stories you said up front, not being able to be verified, what else can be verified by you? How can you even be trusted? Because if you lied off the rip, then you're saying you met these people at a Riva memorial. What? A memorial happened that same day when you did your report? Now let's presume it did. When it happened at a certain time that anything else that follows would have shut the place down. Riva was shut down the next day. So how did you meet these reporters at a memorial that aren't real reporters, but just fans wanting to do a report when your report took place in the daytime? You see how silly that looks? Doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I don't know if it's supposed to, because you already tripped up your story. You're Mr. Fantastic Four, where you can stretch your body inside and leave your head outside. You've already admitted to that superpower that we don't believe you have. So here's my thing. Direct evidence is destroyed. No circumstantial evidence was collected. We can already see that up until the fact of a month later they run in one of the suspects' relatives' cars and magically come out with evidence. Okay. Even if you did, you missed the vital evidence to link anyone to holding a weapon at that given time. So was this some type of investigator flaw? Or was this an assistance to free up Victor? Why is it looking like Victor's getting protected, but I see 4 young African-American men's photos paraded around without any circumstantial evidence visible? What level of investigators on this case? They got decades of experience, but don't know what type of evidence to collect to do some type of report that makes sense? And I even read their report, and I'll get to them, because that makes no sense. It makes no sense. Not with the photos I have, unless I put these photos out, because I can do that, and you can explain the photos, because they're just going to make your story look crazy. I'm trying to be objective here with you guys, but the more evidence I'm looking over, it's starting to play against everything we've been told. Everything we know to be true. So now the truths you're saying don't look right either. So now you're like, oh no, I lied at first, but I'm telling the truth now. How do I know? What type of evidence tells me this? What can you do to assure me that now you're telling the truth, but first you lied? And this is an official investigation. It's not like you're investigating a pet. I think you take a dog's investigation more seriously. If someone killed the dog, you'd probably respect everything about that dog, but you can't have respect for a human being? That's sad. That's honestly sad. Because if something happened to one of the investigators or their family, you'd want someone to take that serious. What if I was just eating a donut over the murder scene of one of your family members, like, oh, I'll get to it. You will be crying and wailing and complaining. This is just sad. This is really looking like the ball was dropped by investigation. Let alone, they couldn't even take into custody of the first person that listened to his story. Because I know investigators listen to it online. You're telling me you saw no contradiction in his story. You're telling me you didn't check this man's phone to see if he called 911, but you could manhunt, send all our monies out there to catch these two black men. But let's not check this white guy who claimed he saw everything, contradicted his story on video, and sending texts about assisting in something, dealing with a murder through text messages. That's why I don't play with nobody. And that's why I handle all my situations how I do. Because I already know the prejudices. That's why. Listen. Listen. I don't know what type of game y'all playing. But what needs to happen, every investigator on this case and everyone who said they witnessed something needs placed in an interrogation room. Why did you investigate this way? Why did you collect evidence this badly? Why didn't his phone get taken? Why did this guy's one testimony hit social media and he wasn't arrested? Because regardless of what he's saying, oh, I'm a witness, you know too much. So we need to put you in an interrogation room. Did he ever see an interrogation room? Because I never heard anything about that. This is sad. You see what privilege does? You see what it does? Now the potential life of a superstar is about to be played with because you did not do interrogations and investigations correctly. What a waste of taxpayer money. What a waste of life. What a waste of space and respect we hand to people who don't deserve it. Right? Or am I wrong? Shout to CommenterNation. You see the description. All rights reserved.